Shadow Home Secretary. Chris, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I'm going to get on to the subject of migrant hotels, but my understanding is that Lucy Connolly has indeed now been released from prison and she has been returned to her family. Obviously, an awful lot of interest in this case, not least because of what happened last summer after the Southport murders. Lucy Connolly very much a victim of what some people think is two-tier justice. Should she have been in prison for 31 months?
No, I don't think so. Look, I mean, I don't condone at all what she said in the tweet, but 31 months prison sentence, nearly 3 years sentence, of which she appears to have served about a year inside, is, I think, disproportionate to what she tweeted. She deleted it very quickly. There are people who have actually physically assaulted others, committed sexual assaults, who either get no prison at all or get far less than this. So I think the sentence was completely disproportionate to what she did.
Yeah. Let's talk about the migrant hotels. Obviously, Kemi Badenoch came out late yesterday to say that all Conservative councils should follow the lead of Epping and basically challenge the government's policy on migrant hotels, saying that they are all now, as far as the planning rules of this country are concerned, no longer hotels. What's going to happen if all of these migrants get kicked out of the hotels? Where are they all going to go?
Well, the government's going to have a massive problem to deal with, but it is a problem of its own making. The previous government had been closing these hotels down, closed about 200 in the 9 months before the election. If that trend had continued, there wouldn't be any migrant hotels at all now. But look, we really need to solve the root of this problem, which is illegal immigrants crossing the English Channel. Yeah. Journeys that are not only illegal and dangerous, but also unnecessary, because France obviously is a safe country. And the way you stop these crossings is that everybody who arrives, or virtually everybody who arrives, needs to be immediately removed, either back to their country of origin or some other place. Could be Rwanda, could be somewhere else. And if everybody, or virtually everybody, who crosses gets removed, pretty soon people aren't going to even bother trying in the first place. Common sense tells you that. Worked in Australia 12 or 13 years ago, and actually it's worked in the USA in the last 6 months as well. Now, there was a plan to do that, the Rwanda plan. Labour stupidly cancelled that just days before it was due to start. And what's happened since? Numbers crossing the channel illegally have surged up by a staggering 47% year on year. This year, 2025 so far, it's been the worst year in history for illegal crossings because Labour cancelled that plan and because they're so weak. And the consequence of that are people ending up in hotels, which is a complete waste of taxpayers' money and, frankly, an insult to British taxpayers who couldn't, probably many of them, afford to stay in those hotels themselves.
No, indeed. But the next stage of this is all going to be proving rather interesting, isn't it? Because the government apparently has now issued an urgent appeal for 5,000 homes to house 20,000 migrants. We understand there's approximately 30,000 migrants in these hotels. I mean, there's just not enough housing for them if they're going to be kept here.
Yeah, so what they're doing is basically taking up homes that should be used by young people here who are struggling to get on the housing ladder or struggling to rent an affordable flat. Instead, taxpayers' money, their own taxpayers' money, is going to be used to put illegal immigrants in those flats instead. And then the Labour government will try and pretend that's some kind of victory because hotel numbers may go down, but the numbers of illegal immigrants in apartments might go up. They'll then claim that's some kind of victory. But actually all it's doing is depriving young people here of the opportunity to have their own home, to either buy or to rent, which is completely wrong. We need to stop this problem at source. We need to stop the illegal immigration across the channel completely. It's bad for our border security. It's bad for public safety. It's bad for the taxpayer. The only way to stop it is to actually deport people when they arrive. But the Labour government is too weak to do that. We tabled legislation to do this just a few weeks ago in Parliament behind me, but the Labour government voted against our plans.
Yes, and they voted against your plans when you were in government as well. They made it much more difficult for you to do the things that you wanted to do, right?
That's right. Yeah, they voted against all of these measures, the Rwanda plan, everything else. And then when they did get elected, they cancelled the Rwanda scheme just a few days before it was due to start, with no replacement plan in place. And the consequence of that is a massive surge in the number of illegal immigrants crossing the channel, worst ever this year, as I say. And the consequence of that is the taxpayer landed with a bill for billions and billions of pounds a year, and these hotels or apartments getting used instead, which is bad for taxpayers and bad for young people who would otherwise want those apartments. We've got a weak government who are not prepared to do the tough things needed to control our borders, and the British public, I think, are sick of it. That's why councils are taking the government to court. It's why people are protesting, which they're perfectly entitled to do, providing it's done peacefully, and I support that, providing it's peaceful. The public are furious with this Labour government, and the fact they're so weak, they've lost control of our borders. I was in Calais myself last week, visiting one of these migrant camps, and it was pretty scary, to be honest. Someone pulled a knife, I got pelted with bottles, and those are people who may, even as we stand here today, they might already be in the UK in a hotel somewhere. They may have crossed in the last week since I was there, and now we're potentially paying for them to have hotels.
Is it going to be necessary to deport most of these people, do you think?
Yeah, I think, yes, I think ultimately people who enter the country illegally should be deported, either to their country of origin if possible, or to some other safe country. Could be Rwanda, could be somewhere else. If not, I think the simple rule should be, if you enter this country illegally, particularly if you come from a safe place like France, you should be removed, you should be deported, end of story. And we tabled a bill in Parliament to do exactly that. Just a few weeks ago, Labour voted against it, and that's why they've got a crisis, because they're not willing to do what is needed.
Yeah, indeed. Chris Philp, thanks very much indeed. Chris Philp, MP, Shadow Home Secretary there, talking about how he believes that the only answer really is to deport these people.